Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where we are back with another Tuesday morning live stream. And surprise, surprise, we're back talking about Manchester United. But today we don't necessarily have a clear direction or a clear focus for the stream. Normally we would be looking at transfer targets, we would be assessing the Manchester United players, or we might be doing a tactical preview looking ahead to the weekend. Today we have none of that. Today is a bit of a catch-up session talking about Manchester United, talking about the season so far, how well we think we're doing, but also how we think we can improve in some areas. I asked you guys for ideas in a Discord channel, or content ideas, what we could do for today's stream. And the suggestion that I saw from a man called Steve, who is a legend, of course, of the community, said, should we just have a talk about United and talk about perhaps different ideas that you guys have about how United can set up moving forward? Because what we normally do is we normally stream on a Friday morning, and let's say we've got Chelsea this weekend, we've got Brentford this weekend, and someone might make a comment in the chat and go, well, I wouldn't mind seeing this. But then I'll go, but we're not really going to do that against Chelsea for the first time, are we? This time, we don't have a match specifically to line up for, not until Friday. So today we can have a bit more of an experimental talk about United, some different things that you would like to see in the side. For example, De Ligt moving to right centre-back the other day was something that we haven't seen yet this season, but it worked really well. He had a phenomenal performance. Perhaps there are more tweaks that we can make. Perhaps there are more different things that we can do. Maybe you guys have some ideas. If you do, get in the chat and let me know what your ideas are. But also, before any of that, just let me know how you're feeling. How is life? And also, just your general thoughts on Manchester United right now. How are you feeling? I think we were sitting here last week doing a stream and we felt a little bit deflated, a little bit flat, a little bit disconnected, perhaps from the club. We had just lost 3-0 to City and not played particularly well. This weekend, a weird one. A very weird football match, very weird circumstances, but we beat Chelsea. We beat Chelsea, so I am never going to sit here and complain about that. And straight away, it just gives me that little lift. United winning just improves my mood. I'm now thinking, well, if we beat Brentford and then beat Sunderland, we'd have won 2 away games in a row, we'd have won 2 home games in a row, and 3 Premier League matches in a row. Suddenly things aren't so bad. So let me know if you guys are on sort of like a similar path with your thoughts, or if you're thinking something a little bit different. Who have we got in the chat this morning? We've got everyone, to be honest. You guys are busy first thing in the morning. Good to see you all. Hope you are all very well. We've got David with the Discord link, by the way, at the top of the chat if you want to check that out. And we've also got David with the gifted membership. David, thank you very much. As always, my friend. Guys, you know what to do. Love hearts everywhere. Everywhere. Adele, good morning to you, my friend. Special request for AJ. When we are live with over 100 viewers, tell him and he will drop 5 gifted memberships. So guys, if you notice that we go over 100 live viewers, drop a message in the chat. Good morning to you, my friend. They didn't ruin your weekend, AJ. That's why. I think that's why I'm confused, right? I'm not used to this feeling. United won a football match and I don't hate them anymore. I don't hate them. It's quite nice. What do you think of the current Ahmad situation? Could it turn into something serious? There's always something at United, right? Oh, I just lost my tactical board. Is it back? There we go. There's always something at United. Even when we win, there's got to be something going slightly wrong. And there is a lot of talk about Ahmad at the moment. And this is what this stream is perfect for. We don't have to consider should he start this weekend. We can just have a talk about him. Last season, Ahmad was, without doubt, one of our best players, right? He was one of United's best performers. I think he had a really good year last year. His first year where he properly broke into the team. After a really bad start to the season, couldn't get in under Erik ten Hag. He eventually came in and played really well. I think the start to this season has been poor, to be honest, from Ahmad. And I don't just think that's Chelsea. I don't just think it's City and Chelsea. I think in every game so far, he's been a little bit poor. His decision-making doesn't seem great at the moment. Every time I'm watching matches, I keep turning to Callum and going, Ahmad has just not turned his brain on today. The amount of times he's getting into great positions and just not playing the right pass. But am I remotely worried about Ahmad? No. Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. He is such a good young player. He is going to be absolutely fine. We've seen time and time again his mentality seems good. He seems to be a player that trains well from what we hear. We've never heard anything about him being a bad egg in the group or anything like that. He seems like a sensible young man, a hard-working young player who hasn't found it easy breaking in at Manchester United. I can't imagine he is going to be someone to throw that all away for no reason, right? He's going to get his head down. He's going to work hard. Will it take time to click on the pitch? Potentially. You know, we had these concerns in the summer, right? We said, how does it quite work? With Mbumo, we got 2 right wingers on the same side. If it does work, unique, special, no one else does it, could be really dangerous. But until then, lacking something a little bit, right? Lacking a synergy there. Of course, in the last couple of games, he's played more in the left 10. That's not a position I've ever seen Amad play before. I have never seen him, before the last 2 matches, play on the left side of the pitch. And some people will say, you're a winger, you should be able to play both sides. And I do get that argument. But if you've spent 20 odd years playing football and you've always been on the right hand side, and with your left foot you've often come inside the pitch, it is different when you then go to the other side. It isn't something that you just pick up immediately and everything's happy days. It is more tricky than that. So I don't have any concerns about Amad right now. If we are still having the same conversation in 6 matches, I'll be a little bit more concerned. But he'll break into form at some point. You know, players have slow starts. Some players start fast, some players go up and down, some are really consistent. Amad, at the moment, poor run of form. But for me, I don't see it as any more than that. I don't think there's anything deeper than it for me personally. But if you do disagree, if I'm missing something, let me know. Let me know. The only weird stuff was the Instagram stuff. But personally, I just don't care about a player's social media. Adele in that chat with the super chat. Thank you very much, my friend, saying over the moon to defeat Chelsea. Wanting 9 points from the next 4 games. Yes, please. 7 is a bare minimum. 12 is dreamland. What's the 4th game in that run? We've got Brentford, Sunderland. Is it then Liverpool after the international break? Who's the one after that? I can't think who the 4th match is. 12 points is dreamland. I want to see our front 3 working good together. I want to see them together for a start, would be lovely. And I want to see more Mazraoui, and I want to see less 5-yard pass flops. I think we can all agree with all of that. Thank you very much for the super chat, my friend. Yeah, what is the 4th game in that run? Have I got that right? Amad will come good, but I did believe he is a wide right player, not an inside forward. Yeah, and certainly not an inside left forward, right? He needs to be operating over here. We did that video last week. I think it was around midweek time, talking about just getting players where they're comfortable, where they've always played, where they're most natural. That's probably where you're going to get the best from them, because they have to think a little bit less, because it's more instinctive. Amad's not playing on his instincts at the moment, so perhaps he's overthinking it, and perhaps that's why he's making some mistakes. Get him back over to the right-hand side, and get him in these areas. Hopefully, now with Cunha returning, we can do that. And Mount as well. Amad's link-up is bad. At the moment, yeah, but we also saw at times last season how good it can be as well. Amad is playing out of position. Yeah, I think that's true. Oh, Brighton is the other one. Eesh. Oh, that old Brighton record isn't nice. They haven't had an amazing start to the season, have they? And it would be at Old Trafford. Nah. Brentford, Sunderland, Liverpool, Brighton. I want to be greedy and ask for 9, but I'm going to say 7. Beat Brentford, beat Sunderland, that's the expectation. Anything against Liverpool realistically is bonus these days, just because we're not on their level. But if we can get a draw there, great. You know, I'm going to say 8 points. I want 2 wins, 2 draws. And against Brighton, that could easily stretch to a win. I think we're capable of that. I like it. Also, what's weird is we don't know what this team looks like on and up. We don't know what Amorim looks like on and up because we haven't seen it yet. We all know the stat. We've never won back-to-back Premier League games. We don't know how they're going to react when it happens. We've all seen it throughout history with United and other teams. When a team wins 3, 4, 5 games in a row, weirdly, it just keeps building. You can go through a really rough patch, but you just win a few in a row. The momentum, the belief at the club, it does change things. Like, when you're winning becomes easier. You know, your goals, you're not thinking about it so much. It just flows. Same with a striker, right? When they get their first goal for a club, they might then score 5 and 6, for example. We don't know what United look like with momentum, because in the past year, every time we've won a game and gone, oh, okay, we've come straight back down in the next one. We've now got another opportunity. We've had a few, but we've now got another opportunity to change that. What will this United team look like off the back of 3 games or 3 wins in a row? We might see a very different United side playing on the up. And that intensity, which we were speaking about yesterday, in the first 15 minutes of matches, United starting very fast. Perhaps if we're a confident team and we win 3 games in a row and perhaps we capitalise on those early chances, maybe suddenly we're something very different. Maybe, I don't know. I'd like to see it. Agreed, 7 points is possible. I think it should be the aim. We should treat every single game this season like a Champions League final. I think what we saw against Chelsea is now what has to be the bare minimum. The problem is we have said that in the past. We said that for the Arsenal game in the FA Cup last year, and there was another one where we really came out afterwards and were like, that's the standard. We've got to play like that every week now. This season more than ever, because we only play once every 7 days for pretty much the entire campaign, there is no excuse not to be the more aggressive, the more physical team. We should be intense. We should be after teams. That first 15 minutes, I liked it. Extend it. We need to do it for longer periods if possible. I'd happily take an ugly win versus Brentford. Yeah, maybe I need to change my demands right now. I think because I'm disappointed in what I've seen, truthfully, my demands almost go higher because it's like, oh, you got to make up for it now. Whereas actually perhaps what we need is sort of 3 grindy-ass wins just to get us somewhere. Those 9 points on the board would be lovely. Yeah, maybe that. We got Chad with the 20-month membership and a very interesting question. How did you miss that Chelsea had 14 men for 85 minutes? I'm not going to bite. I'm not going to bite. Thank you very much for the support, as always, Chad. And we've also got Adele in the chat with 10 gifted memberships. That is insane. Thank you very much, my friend. So 10 of you guys that were not members before are now members purely because of this man's insane generosity. So thank you very, very much, my friend. Guys, you know what to do. Love hearts all over the chat to say thank you. That's quality. My chair is sinking again. I so badly need a new chair. Boom. Let me try and read the chat. It's moving a bit too fast. I think Amorim is hinting towards changing when we have some winning momentum. That's when we might see a Mainu, Bruno pivot, etc. And maybe that's what this stream is good for, actually. Let's picture... Oh, Loki's barking. Let's picture United winning 2, 3... I don't know. Let's be crazy. Let's say 4 matches in a row. What do you think some of those evolutions could be? That could be a really fun conversation. Because we did see those comments from Ruben Amorim last week. He said, I'm not going to change my system right now. I want the players to get the basics, the foundations, something that we spoke about. And then he said after that, you will see it evolving. Not necessarily changing. You know, he's not going to rip it up and start again, but it will start to evolve once the players have got the basics. What do you think some of those evolutions can be? And what would you like some of those evolutions to be? If it was you, if you were in charge and you're trying to evolve this team to the next level, what would you be doing to try and achieve that? I would love to hear that. Yeah, apologies about Loki. I'll recommend a chair I love on Discord for you. Thank you very much. My friend actually had this chair, and I went round there and sat on it. I was like, this chair is so comfortable, I need it. And mine's just broke. I don't know what Loki's going crazy about. Winning ugly is a trait that all title-winning teams have had. See, Alex, I completely agree, but I don't like you saying it because it scares me that Liverpool might win the league again. Because they are winning ugly right now. Thoughts on the Ballon d'Or? I just don't think he's got any credibility. Harry Kane came 13th, right? What? I don't really look at Ballon d'Or too much just because I think it's just daft. The players that have won it, the players that haven't won it, the players that deserve to be in the conversations and haven't been. What I will say is I am very happy for Ousmane Dembele. It's nice to see a player who was labelled as a wonder kid, moved for a lot of money, then sort of stalled, plateaued, maybe even regressed as a player, managing to overcome that and sort of reinventing himself to now be amazing. So it's a nice story. So I'm quite happy, to be honest. Sadly true, they have got that trait. They have. Hard to evolve without a better left wing back or a DM, in my opinion. Can we change how we look at it, though? For example, we saw a change the other day in sort of how we approach the game. Where's Mazraoui? Here he is. What we saw in that game was Mazraoui inverting and Bumo moving wider. Is this technically an evolution? Because it meant that we didn't see a wing-back, a fullback, constantly wide in crossing positions. Instead, we saw Brian and Bumo, a good crosser. Is that arguably an evolution? Or is it just a tactical tweak for a one-off game? We don't actually know. We obviously saw something similar at times on the left last season when Garnacho was playing in the left 10. Garnacho wasn't comfortable in these areas, so we would often see the wing-back coming in, and Garnacho would go play wide. That's tweaks to the system. They're different things. Could we see more of that? Could we? Messi once got like 40 goal contributions and finished 20th. Then he won the whole thing the next year because of the World Cup. Yeah, it's just daft. It's just daft. What's going on with Amad and social media? All I've seen is that he posted a picture with him and Garnacho, his friend, and then deleted it and has pretty much deleted everything, I think. I don't know. I don't really look into it too much. Anyway, let's have a look at some of what these evolutions for United could be. The midfield and the wide centre-back interchanging, whether we want to carry or meticulous build-up. So you're talking about having our set team, really, that we use most weeks. But then we go, okay, this week we want to play a bit slower, so we're going to go for this centre-back. This week we want to play a bit quicker, let's go for this midfielder. I like it. I like it. I think that's what you really benefit from when you're good at football. You know, if you look at Liverpool, they're sort of consistent with their performance without being amazing, but they can make those tweaks. That, you know, this week we want the pace of Jeremy Frimpong overlapping, whereas this week we want Conor Bradley to deal with Jack Grealish, or we want Gravenberch in midfield for a bit more physicality, or Szoboszlai for his energy, Curtis Jones for his control, McAllister for his passing. You can sort of chop and change and tweak, sticking to your ideas, sticking to your core philosophy, but make these tweaks to find weaknesses in the opposition. That's something that we probably can't do at the moment. But yes, certainly if we evolve, that would be quite fun to see. I'd like to hear who you would have in mind for that. What sort of midfielders would you bring in when you want to play a little bit slower? Same for the wide centre-backs. Who would you be looking at? I'd love to see 2 wingers at wing-back. I want to know if we can do that. Because since Amorim's been here, we've often spoken about, I want to see at least 1 winger there. Because then we've got 2 wingers on the pitch, we've got a couple of 10s, whatever. Is 2 wingers doable, or is it simply too aggressive? I guess it depends on who the wingers are. Are they players that are willing to defend? Do you guys think that you could get away with... We actually don't have a second winger to use right now. Where's Amad gone? Can anyone see Amad anywhere? Here he is. I don't have a winger to use on the other side. Let's use a blank player, right? Let's call him... let's just call him left wing. Could we actually do this? Oh, he's gone and hidden behind a player. I'm kind of stupid. I do apologise. Let's call him left mid anyway. Anyway, come in here, you, mate. Bosh. Could we do that, or is that a bit too aggressive? Because obviously pretty much every team in the Premier League has 4 defenders on the pitch. Whether you care about the shape or not, they have at least 4 defenders, players that would profile themselves as a defender. Could you get away with a winger on both sides in the Premier League, or do you think it's not doable? Or is it, again, where we're talking about for certain matches you could? This is something that I keep saying. I wish we had an Amad for the other side of the pitch. I wish we had that luxury. Because what we can do on the right-hand side, almost similar to what we were just saying about Liverpool, is on the right side, we can choose between the more attacking or the more defensive option, or even the more technical option. We sort of have that luxury. Whereas at the moment, it's like on the left, well, we can go Dorgu, or we could go Dorgu. That's basically our left-hand side at the moment. I wish we had that Amad on the left that we could bring in for something a little bit different. I'd love it if we could play like that. Who plays left wing back then? We don't have a natural left winger. Yeah, that would obviously have to be an evolution, in January, next summer, beyond perhaps. I think there is no point in running a system with wing backs and not signing Adama Traore. True. We do need to see it. Can you imagine his intensity just going up and down there? Mantato, Alex, I like it. Do I have him here somewhere? Is he on my bench? He's not on my bench. Let's get him in. I like it as a shout. I struggled to type so much. Yeah, I like that as a shout. This is where I wish we were... I wish we could beat Grimsby, basically, because I wish we were in the Carabao Cup and could have those matches against lesser opposition where we could try something like that. Or like Chido Obi coming in up front. Heaven, even at centre-back. Would be lovely. Shaw or Leon could do a job there too. Absolutely. My point would just be, again, though, granted, I think Shaw's better going forward. It's not like completely changing the profile. Amad to Mazraoui is very, very different. We don't have that on the left without Mantato, I would say. Adele in the chat again. Thank you very much, my friend, with the super chat. Too aggressive, less defence, requires a lot of work from the defensive midfielders, which we don't have. We don't have currently. Could we evolve to have that? If we had Belabor and someone in midfield, is that something you could do? Or could Mbuma? Okay. Change the conversation. Amad's played on the left recently. I think he played on the left for Ivory Coast in the last international break as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. You want to see wingers in both wing-back positions. You couldn't do something crazy, could you? And again, we're talking about evolution. We're talking further down the line. Not this weekend against Brentford. We're not going to see this. Let's have a little play about with the team. Imagine this is Belabor. People last season kept saying, could Anthony play left wing back? Because he's left-footed, naturally on the left-hand side, would give us that crossing ability. For example, is there an evolution at United where you could end up with something like this? And again, imagine it's not Ugarte, imagine it's Belabor or like Belabor and Elliot Anderson or something like that, for example. Is this something that United could eventually evolve to? Again, not this weekend against Brentford, not next weekend against Sunderland, probably not in the next 3 months. But beyond that, could we? Could we? Is this possible? Does this work in the Premier League? I'd like to hear what you think. Particularly if you're playing lesser opposition, a game where you really feel that you're going to go and dominate teams. Maybe we could see this. Because I think, for a reason I'll speak about in a second, we're going to need to eventually. Grimsby shows us what confidence can do. Spot on. Spot on. A Grimsby team that believed they could win beat us. It's a big thing. You'd lose a bit of attacking threat from Mbeumo, a bit like how it currently is when Amad plays there. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. It probably is then dependent on the starting position and also what is actually your deep defensive shape, right? You know, every team in the Premier League is going to have a spell on the ball at some point. How on earth do you actually defend against that? Pressing, sure, it's lovely. You know, imagine you had two centre-backs who were really good at their wide defence. Sure, it's great. But what about when you got a low block? You know, there's not an obvious back four that you shift to there. Does it quite work as a 5? Not sure. I think on the ball, though, it could work. Because, again, I think it's about putting players where they like to play. Let's not view this as a wing-back for a second. On the ball, they're just wingers. You know, on the ball, they're wingers with dual 10s in the middle. In possession, I think it could work, to be honest. I actually do. Out of possession, yeah, more problems. More problems. May work if both wide centre-backs have enough recovery pace. Not sure. Yeah. Not sure that Shaw, has that in the Premier League now. Yeah, look, what if you had perhaps Yoro on the right and then you signed next summer someone else for the left-hand side? Because I think we will probably address the left or the centre-back position next summer. Devil's advocate, will Bruno actually have to leave next summer? All love to him. I really want us to move on from him. It's going to be a big conversation. It was a big conversation this year. It's going to be even bigger next year. Oh, Alex, see, this is what I want to see in the chat, guys. Can we solve problems thinking outside the box? An evolution of United. We're not going to do this weekend, but maybe in the future. Out of possession, could you drop one of your midfielders into centre-back and push Shaw wider? Well, actually, let's do it the other way around, right? Let's imagine you went... Let's swap these two for a sec. You're defending deep. You're saying about dropping a midfielder in there. You'd probably drop Bruno into the double, wouldn't you? I quite like that. That's a really nice solution, actually. That's a really nice solution, Alex. If you imagine you had like say like a Declan Rice, for example, who played centre-back early in his career, or even Stack, who's now at Leeds, the sort of player that could probably do that. Tchouaméni has played centre-back, has played midfield. That'd be a really interesting way of doing it. Again, you wouldn't do this in any match. You know, you wouldn't go to the Etihad and do this. But like Steve said, game state. Let's say you are 1-0 down against Sunderland. You want a goal. Could you go hyper-aggressive with this in the future? In the future. Maybe. Evolution, start focusing on getting our striker goals. It might work. Greg, it just might. The question is, how do we do that? How do we do that? I think Šeško's actually had a really nice start to life at United in terms of what he's doing individually. I like his runs off the ball. I like the way that he's battling centre-backs. I think physically he's handling himself really nicely, really well. How do we actually get him the ball, though? How do we actually get him the ball? Like, how do we do that? How do we get it? It's all well and good. Let's create our striker chances. How? Is it better deliveries into the box? Is it more patience in the final third to get more players around him in the attack? What do we think it is? My friends, we've got ourselves another super chat in the chat, and I don't even have to say his name. You know who it is. We should only focus on managing momentum and moments. We already have the bursts. Now it's about converting and controlling those key instances. I said yesterday's video. United are starting fast. 4 out of the 5 games so far. If you look at the momentum graph, the other team haven't had a sniff. I think against Arsenal, we all sat there the first 10 minutes like, wow. Fulham was a bad performance overall, but the first 15, it was like, cool, we're blowing them away right now. Burnley, we started fast. Chelsea, we started fast. Score from it. Score from it, please. Because it just changes everything. If we come out of that burst with a 1-0 lead, it's a very, very different match. Very different match. Classic 4-4-2 out of possession. Yeah, which works quite nicely in the league at the moment. This system in its final form probably doesn't make room for an aging Bruno. Very true. Very good point. I wonder when he'll leave. I don't want him to leave. I don't ever want him to leave. Like, he's just ridiculous. If he played for any other football club, he'd have been in those Ballon d'Or conversations last night. But if we're trying to evolve, you know, we're trying to move. We're trying to move forward. Lisandro Martinez can probably do that role. It'd be interesting, wouldn't it? If in, like, say 12 months, we go from inverting a centre-back into midfield to suddenly we're dropping a midfielder into centre-back. Be quite interesting. I just had the vision, though, that someone has never seen this channel before, has just clicked on for the first time and just sees this on the screen and is like, what on earth is going on here? Do you think we see Mazraoui at centre-back again this season? He seems pretty keen on Shaw on the left, soon to be Martinez, so Yoro is now on the right. I mean, first of all, the point to make is it's great for depth, right? It's great that we've got that many options. Just fighting a sneeze. We're good. We're not. It's coming. But yeah, it's a good conversation. It's a good question to raise. Because we do have a lot of depth suddenly at the back. Where is he? Harry Maguire. We got Heaven. It can go deeper than that as well. The good thing is we've got versatility, right? So Shaw can go left centre-back. He can go left wing-back, I think. Maybe. Mazraoui can go right centre-back. He can go right wing-back. He can go left wing-back. He can go left centre-back. Only cost us 12 mil, by the way. The Lit can play probably across the back three, I would say. The first thing is, yeah, great, we've got versatility. The question is over what's actually our best 11 is probably still there. I don't know. Defensively, the other day, you know, De Ligt was an upgrade, in my opinion. I think Yoro's had a good start to the season, and we all love Lenny Yoro. But defensively, I think De Ligt performed the role better than what Yoro did. If we're talking about evolving, is there something in this? You know, because I think the way that I see Yoro, I'm sure I said this in the first video that I did when we were linked with him, is I see Yoro as, yes, he can be aggressive, yes, he can be front foot, but I actually see him as a bit more of a player that covers in behind a little bit more, sweeps up behind. Is this, for example, an evolution? That the central centre-back becomes a sweeper and would be more like a Lenny Yoro or like a Van Dijk, you know? Yoro's better. Kidding, but he will be. And then you have that more aggressive profile out wide. Because we know these wider centre-backs are responsible for doing a lot of jumping, a lot of aggressive play in midfield. Maybe De Ligt, that's his long-term role. I don't know. Although he has done very well in the middle as well so far this season. Manu, good morning to you, my friend. How are you? How are you? Best 11 away to Liverpool isn't the same as home versus Burnley. Spot on, my friend. Spot on. Bruno could stay for the rest of his career and be a leader if he wants, but I think reduced game time for him is inevitable in the next few seasons as we progress and recruitment gets better. I'm trying to think how I would feel right now if say, like in March, we got told, you know, Bruno's going to leave at the end of the season. I'd like to think it would still be for a lot of money. It would hurt. I saw someone say earlier they'd probably cry. Understandable. Understandable. But I would sit there and think about the potential rebuild that we can do with that money. The different midfielders we can sign. How much easier perhaps the balance in midfield becomes without Bruno. Because Bruno's not a central midfielder, right? He is out of position at the moment. Which, by the way, we should point out. We should point out that this man is out of position. And I don't mean like, oh, Amorim's getting it wrong, stop playing him out of position. I mean, how good is he playing miles out of position? Like, how much is he still contributing to United? Yeah, you might say he loses possession a bit too much at times and things like that, and he's frustrating, of course. But oh my God, he still brings so much to United, and he's just so far away from his best position. So fair play to Bruno Fernandes. He's just a great player. Just a great player. I think Yoro is better at left centre-back still. Is that just me? In a back four, I agree. I prefer that as his role. I don't know so much in a back three. I don't know if I'm set on what I view as his best position yet in the three. But I think in a back four, yeah, I prefer him as the left one. Would you rather have a manager wedded to a formation or a manager wedded to a philosophy longer term? For me personally, philosophy. You know, I think because that gives you a bit more flexibility as leagues evolve, which they do. In the past 3 seasons even, it's evolved. Having a manager that has his philosophy but can change and adapt would be better. Maybe Amorim is that though, right, as well? Maybe Amorim's glued to a formation but also a philosophy. Could be a thing. This system requires a very high intensity. Bruno isn't the guy for us right now. All respect to his contributions through the years. I think he does bring intensity. I just think he lacks ability defensively. You know, defensively, I personally couldn't question his intensity in terms of how much he runs, how much he presses. But like the intelligence isn't there defensively is what I would say. The other tactical evolution is a 3-man midfield. Either drop one of the attackers or the middle centre-back. Or the middle centre-back pushes up to be a deep 6. Yeah, finding a way to get an extra man in midfield is something that I think we need to consider in the long term. Amorim made the comment last weekend, though. City game. I think he was asked before the match about why Ahmad was playing in that role. And he said, you know, we could have gone for an extra midfielder in that position, but I wanted more of a ball carrier, more of a wing player. Does that mean we're not going to see that anytime soon? This extra player dropping deeper? You know, early on in the season, we haven't seen like the Xerxes and Cobbies playing here like we did last season. It's Mbumo, it's Ahmad, it's Cunha, it's Mount, it's the ball carriers, the more aggressive ones. Something to think about. I think the other thing we need to consider is, again, if we're talking about evolution, right now, I think we're at our best, I think you'd all agree, attacking spaces. So that might be sitting deep. Let's just move some of these players off the pitch. Who should we get rid of? Ugarte. Dorgu left. Masraoui right. At the moment, I think we all agree we're best when we're attacking fast. Whether that be parking the bus and then transitioning and getting his front three going. Let's get Cunha in here. Or it might be tackling from within the mid-block and then going. The start of matches, starting very fast. Quite a long direct game, picking up second balls, springing from there. Same from the opposition. We're picking up the second balls, attacking from there. We're very good at that. At some point, teams will respect us. And what I mean by that is you watch certain teams in the Premier League and you look at the way that teams approach them and you can tell there's a respect there. Like teams against Liverpool, if they've got a brain, don't leave Salah, for example, with loads of space, right? Just because that would be a daft thing to do because he punishes you. What United need to start doing, said it yesterday, first 15 minutes, we're starting fast. Take advantage of that. Actually score your goals. Because I think if United can start doing that, if we become so good in fast transitions, are we going to see teams respecting us a bit more and sitting off us? For example, at the moment, I still feel that teams think they can press us. Teams feel that, you know, if we take a chance to go man-to-man against United, they're going to play a bad pass or two in the first phase. We're going to be able to nick that ball. At the moment, I feel like that's still the case. But if we could get to a point where perhaps we're so good, for example, with the long ball up to Šeško, to Mbumo, for example, if we get really good at that, or if we get really good at going long, playing off the second ball, and then playing from there, what would happen eventually, you would think, is that teams will just stop pressing. Teams will just go, you know what, just let them have it, because if we give them any space, they're going to absolutely rip us to shreds, so we just got to let them have the ball. That's where United might eventually then need another evolution, because if teams start dropping deep, start sort of respecting us and giving us the ball, then the challenges for us to overcome are very different, right? Now we're looking at a team that can probably play out easier in the first phase because the opposition is scared of pressing us because of what we've got up here. But now we need something different in terms of being a team that can break the opposition down. I think if we get good or even better at our quick play, this is a natural evolution and a natural challenge that will pop up at some point. At the moment, I don't think we're great in these situations. I don't think we're great against low blocks. So this is probably somewhere where we need to evolve. How we do it, I'm not so sure. But I think it's something that will happen because I just think we look that good in transitions at the moment. Super chat from Abba. Thank you very much. I think playing technical players is the way to improve us moving forward. I'm worried about us not playing the likes of Xerxes and Kobe Mainu. First of all, thank you very much for the super chat. Guys, you know what to do. Spam the love hearts for that man. Thank you very much. On the comment. Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily even the fact that it's Xerxes or it's Kobe. In terms of, I'm not necessarily saying that either of those have cemented their place or made enough of a claim that they should be starting every week. But it's what they represent. It's the type of player they are. It's the type of player that we don't really possess in our 11 at the moment. So I do agree with that. I think the eye-opener for me was Barcelona last week. Now, I've commented a few times how, of course, that was the elite, the best central midfielders, for example. But we're not close to that right now, and the Premier League isn't close to that. You watch the City midfield, the Arsenal midfield. Nowhere near what Barcelona and PSG have got in midfield at the moment. And that's because, again, we use the word evolution, right? It's how the league's changed over the last few years. A few years ago, City were like that. They had David Silva and Bernardo Silva at a time as their two midfielders. Can you imagine that now? Can you imagine City rocking up somewhere with David Silva and Bernardo Silva? I just don't think it would happen in the Premier League right now because we'd say it's not physical enough, it's not good enough defensively. How's it going to deal with transitions? So I think we have seen that shift in the past few years from technical to physical. We've all been caught up in it. I have myself. That Barcelona game last week still really makes me sit and go, technical might be the way. Technical might be the way. What if we can make the ball do the work? Then I don't have to be athletic. Something to keep in mind. Alex, just following up on that little waffle session I had a moment ago about evolution and United becoming a team that teams fear. If that happens, AJ, then Bruno as a central midfielder makes more sense. Yeah, and that's where it's confusing, right? That's where it's really confusing. Because you always do you maybe take Bruno out of midfield to get there, but then once you're there, you need Bruno back in midfield. Tricky. Ollie faced a low block a lot, and that was because he has us hammering from deep, quick attacks. Exactly. First season Ollie was different to the last season because the first season was quick, transitional football, and it was after COVID, wasn't it? It was after that, the COVID season. We came back in June or something to finish the season, and we just ripped teams to shreds with quick football. So teams, say 2 years later, just went, just let them have it. And that brought up new challenges, which at the time we probably didn't adapt to. We didn't evolve too well enough. Perhaps he wasn't given the time in hindsight. But I think these things happen. At one point, you might press Liverpool because you think you can get at them. Let's say when Klopp first came in at Liverpool, they were a poor side at the time when he first came in. You probably think you can go press them. A couple of years later, you weren't pressing Liverpool because you knew they would absolutely destroy you if you did. So eventually you sat deep, which is why Klopp then started signing players like Thiago, because they didn't need the intensity so much suddenly. Now it was about playing against a low block and breaking a team down. Your demands change, I think, constantly. Do you think our possession stats are inflated by teams letting us have the ball and expecting us to mess up? I don't even know if it's expecting us to mess up or just expecting us not to do a lot, if you know what I mean. Just giving us possession and going yeah, go on then, lads. What are you going to do to hurt us? Are our possession numbers inflated? What do you think in the chat, guys? What do you think? Are United's possession numbers inflated? Are teams letting us have the ball, or are we doing well taking the ball? It's an interesting question. Arsenal, I think they were poor and I think we were good. I don't think they sort of sacrificed the ball in that game. I think we went and got it off them. Fulham. Trying to cast my mind back to Fulham. I sort of deleted it because it weren't a great performance. What were we like on the ball against Fulham? I watched the first 15 minutes again yesterday, but I hadn't seen the rest of it. What were we like against Fulham? I can't remember. Did we have much ball against Fulham? See, if I think of the City game, I think we had it when they wanted us to have it, for example, right? Like when they were 3-0 up, they sat deeper. I don't know. Personally, I don't think so. We have been excellent at taking the ball and keeping it. I do think the physical level is so much better in terms of like just battling on second balls. With largely the same personnel, particularly with Bruno and Casemiro. But I think Mount and Cunha in particular have been really useful to that. But like you said, the technical as well is better. It's definitely better. Which is why I keep saying I don't buy into the argument that like United have a bad squad. Yes, it lacks balance, but I think we've got a lot of good players. And we have seen that. There are moments where we get that ball down and we really zip it about, and the technical quality is actually seriously impressive. Like the details on the passing, the back heels, the flicks that we're seeing to sort of help the team move up the pitch in like a flowing motion is really, really good in moments. I want to see it more. But it is things like that which are allowing us to take the ball. I keep saying also, the attack's just upgraded, isn't it? Like, Šeško I thought was going to take longer to settle in the way that he has. I think physically he already looks like he can handle the league, whereas Højlund struggled for a long time. So Šeško is making certain balls stick that Højlund didn't. Cunha can protect the ball in a way that Garnacho never could. And Mbeumo uses his body very well, deals with contact, and helps us keep the ball. I think they all play into it. It's about controlled, aggressive possession. We have little of that. Yeah, that's what I would like to see changing. I don't think I ever want us to be like Arsenal. Really slow, really slow. Or City 18 months ago, 2 years ago, where they played a really slow possession game. I don't think I ever want to see that. I don't ever want to see that really slow football. Sure, I'd like to see us with 60% possession every week, but I think there's a way you can do it. I'd like to see it quick. I'd like to see it fast. I'd like to see it direct. I always say at the moment, we're on either end, right? We're super fast, super aggressive, or we're really slow and doing nothing. We need to find that in between still, which we're struggling with. Like the video, please, lads. It's important for AJ. It is indeed. So if you wouldn't mind leaving a like and also subscribing whilst you're here, that'd be very kind of you. It's 40 minutes in and I've only just now started begging, which ain't bad. Our chances come when we play direct, not with our possession. Completely agree. Completely agree. Which is something that that's a good thing, by the way. It's good that we can create chances when going direct, because not many teams in the league can. But there are a lot of teams who can create chances better when they're building possession, which is where we need to catch up. Ten Hag and Amorim with Woodward recruitment wouldn't even last a season. Oh, they would have been gone a long time ago. Long time ago. How about a 4 central midfielder side, 2 DMs, Bruno and Mainu 10s, wingers at wing-back? Ooh. I'll come back to that because Chad has set a challenge for the chat saying let's get to 100 likes for Mbeumo's backside. Now, just to confirm, you don't get Mbeumo's backside once we get to 100 likes. I don't have that power. But let's get to 100 likes, please and thank you. 4 central mid side, 2 DMs, Bruno and Mainu 10s, wingers at wing-back. For today, just imagine Ugarte is Baleba, right? Just imagine he is. Just imagine he is. This is what Steve is saying. Corby, where are you? I just lose players so badly, constantly. I'd be terrible as a defensive midfielder. Constantly losing my man. We still don't really have that left wing profile, but let's chuck Cunha out there. This sort of thing. Is this what you're talking about, Steve? Probably more of a natural winger than Cunha. The control you would get in there, by the way, if you could line up 4 like that. Imagine Mount as well in that sort of setup. Could be really nice. Bruno had the most chances created or something last season. Why are our centre forwards still struggling? Fair question, right? That's actually a really good point. Last season, our XG was quite low, wasn't it? I'm sure it was. I'm sure we ended up quite far down the league table. Yet Bruno Fernandes was the top creator, sorry. Created more chances than pretty much everyone. Where are those chances going to if they're not going to the striker? Something to think about. Last season, I would say that, we did create some good chances and were wasteful at times. Garnacho. Nice cameo at the weekend from Garnacho, by the way. But it is a fair question. Yeah, we are talking about the best creative player in the world, in my opinion. Yeah, our striker can't get chances. Where are the chances going? It's an interesting question. I do think, Bruno further forward would help our striker because the creativity would be closer to him. A lot of the time at the moment, Bruno's almost playing the before pass, like the pass before the chance. So he's sort of progressing it and then perhaps Cunha's creating the chance. But it is a good point. It is a good point. 4 central midfielders versus any midfield would be able to walk through the middle of the pitch. Yeah, sort of like in like a diamond as well. You could go, couldn't you? You could go like Bruno. Let's swap them just so it suits my agenda. Like you could switch to a diamond, so Bruno goes higher there, Kobe would drop, and like that sort of thing with midfield profiles in there. And like you said, then sort of fast direct wingers. That could be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. That's when you could even maybe come back to a shout, Steve, of to almost make it more realistic in an Amorim world. You could imagine that. Let's go. How do we do this? Let's get Mazraoui back. Okay, pretend it's not Cunha. Imagine it's a different left winger. But just profile-wise, you could almost imagine it like this, and then to get into your shape, and Mbeumo goes wider, and then Mazraoui comes in, and that's how you sort of create that four in midfield. Imagine we got Rashford back and had him and Mbeumo as our wide men in possession would be gorgeous. In transition, by the way, that would be lethal. Lethal. Why is Amorim not putting Bruno in the right 10? Why Ahmad? Bruno will be better, and then Ahmad can come in, let Kobe play midfield. Yeah, that would have been my solution, I'll be honest, in the past couple of games. It's different now we've got Cunha back, right? That changes things. But without Cunha, I would have gone Bruno into the left 10, Kobe into midfield. That was the straightforward swap for me. That would have been the swap for me. Yeah, Steve, this kind of works while sticking to Amorim's idea. You just want someone different to Cunha on the left. Still the 3-4-2-1? Yeah, I wanted to do it in the image of Amorim actually like being something that he could do. Again, we're talking about evolving rather than completely changing everything. That's probably a way that you could do it. But yeah, defensively, you'd want someone different out there. Bruno progresses the ball better than Mainu from deep. Yeah, I think that's fair. We had the conversation in the Discord server the other day about Bruno Kobe being more of a connector than a progressor at this moment in time, and I think that's pretty fair to say. So when's Le Mans starting? I mean, that's a way we could evolve, right? Playing the goalkeeper we started. We signed. Could do that. Could do that. AJ, expand that midfielder dropping. Have Mainu sit and be more box-to-box. And then Bruno in front. You're reading my mind. The things we can do here. This is why I will keep saying, right? Everyone goes to 3-4-3 is the problem. I'm not the biggest fan of a back three in the world, right? I'm happy to admit that. But there are so many ways that you could do it. Like a 3-4-3 can look so different. You could give 100 managers a 3-4-3 and you'd get a good 40, 50, 60, 70 different variations of that shape. You know, we don't have to be so rigid with our thinking. There are different things we can do. India is doing somewhat good. He's not doing bad, to be fair. I mean, set pieces still concern me and shot stopping, which are pretty useful for goalkeepers. Distribution, though, on point right now, isn't it? On point. And I don't know where that's come from, because last year he could not pass the ball. Remember the FA Cup against Arsenal? It's sort of remembered for his penalty saves. But if you remember it, during the 90, he was just booting the ball out for a throw-in pretty much every time he got the ball. So I'm not sure what changed there. Not sure what changed there. I think he wants Mazraoui in the team, which complicates things. How do we feel about Mazraoui as a wide centre-back defensively? We always talk about Mazraoui as a wide centre-back for what he brings on the ball. He brings technical quality. He brings the ability to link with the wing-back and the inside forward. Sure. We never talk about him defensively. Do you think he's a player that can do the sort of aggressive jumping? We saw De Ligt doing it the other day, right? De Ligt was going everywhere. I think it was the second minute against Chelsea. He had spent pretty much the whole game right wing at that point. Skewed by the fact that we eventually played 10. But I think I think he always would have been that aggressive, was the impression that I got just from the start. Small sample size, I know. Can Mazraoui do something similar or not? Because, for example, Lisandro Martinez is going to complicate things, by the way, in terms of team selection. Going to make it difficult because we'll have some really good players at that point. But just as an example, could you go for... Okay, I want to move this conversation away, actually. Something just came to my head. We'll stick with this for a second. Could you go for Mazraoui and De Ligt as sort of your like aggressive defenders and then that covering defender behind? Do you think that's something that we could do? Or Is Mazraoui not the player for that? Is he the wrong guy? Because De Ligt the other day was really aggressive, wasn't he? He was constantly stepping up. It does bring back the flaws in the system, though, if we were negative for a second, because Alex said there, he can do it, but if he gets it wrong, the right wing back and the right centre mid have to help, they do. And that does then limit us as to who can play the wing back roles, because suddenly we need better defenders. That's where it's annoying. It's where it's annoying. AJ, in the video yesterday, you said that we tire quickly because of the constant intensity. I'd also include the fact that we constantly keep playing the ball long doesn't help. Yeah, it's sort of a positive and a negative for us right now. We go long, early, great intensity, second balls, all over it. Cool. But also it means you're giving the ball away a lot. And that's what I said yesterday about doing a lot of running, doing a lot of jumping, doing a lot of dueling. Tires you out. If you're constantly going long and you're competing for that first ball, then competing for the second ball, that's difficult to do. That is difficult to do. It's difficult to go into lots of battles or lots of just knocks constantly throughout a game. It's tough to deal with. But also, yeah, if you are giving the opposition the ball, or giving them a chance, certainly, to get the ball, then suddenly you're doing defensive running again, which could be why you tire yourselves out. Completely agree. De Ligt has been a very pleasant surprise so far this season. One of our best players so far this campaign, I think. Apart from Mbeumo, I'd be tempted to say our best player so far this season. I think in every video, every match video so far, I've said he's played well. I can't think which team it was. There was one ball which came into the box that led to a goal that I think he should do better with. Apart from that, I think he's been pretty much flawless. Pretty much flawless. Really good start to the season. It comes back to right-sided midfield coverage too. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Particularly if it is to be Mbeumo Ahmad here. You just think with the way that these guys want to play, this one physically has got to really be up to it. At the moment, it's Casemiro, which sort of kind of sums up a problem with what we've got currently and why we should have signed a midfielder. I will say right now, Baleba in January sort of looks possible. It sort of looks possible because he's not happy there. You can see that. Does anyone have concerns about his mentality? The fact that he seems so affected by the United rumours? Maybe. But right now he looks like he could become available. Because Brighton might just go, it's better to have no player than a player that doesn't want to be here. I don't know, just a thought. Could he then play that right-sided midfield position? Possibly. Or if you want ground coverage, Elliot Anderson. You know, just thought I'd say his name. Šeško is a very different player to jump against compared to Højlund or Xerxes. Yeah, I mean, I would not want to be battling Šeško in the air, I'll tell you that for free. Partly because I'm like 4 foot tall, but also, even if I was 6'2", I wouldn't want to. He's insane physically. Mbeumo right wing back, Ahmad move forward. See again, people will say that we can't do that because we didn't sign such a good attacking player to be a defensive player. But the wing back doesn't have to be a defensive player. The wing back can be an attacking player. You know, Mbeumo can play high, wide right. That's a winger position. Defensively, you could shift into that 4-4-2 off the ball. Mbeumo probably goes right side here. You know, that's not a defensive position for Mbeumo. That's just a regular winger position. That's where most wingers play off the ball. So yeah, I think you can do that. I'd actually be really interested in seeing it at some point, actually. Anyway, the other comment I want to make was the return of Lisandro Martinez when it happens. Because when it happens, he will come into the team. He will come into the team. I am so confident of that because Amorim loves him and just constantly talks about his aggression, his leadership, the fact that he plays on the front foot, his mentality, all of that stuff. Amorim doesn't stop waffling on about it, to be fair. He'll come into that team on the left. Is there a shout then at that point for going for these two aggressive wider centre-backs and then having that sort of covering one in the middle, sweeping behind them? Because these two we can trust to be aggressive. We know that. They've got anger issues or something. They'll play on the front foot if you ask them to. You know, if you ask them to go kick someone, you won't ask them twice, right? They'll already be on the pitch kicking them. With Yoro then sweeping, is this a sort of balance that we could end up with at some point? maybe there's also an argument that in possession in the first phase, Euro might be better here than what Maguire or De Ligt would be. My concern would be doing a lot of channel defending with these two. Yeah, sure, that would be a concern. But is that a bigger concern than the central defensive issue we've got at the moment? Not sure. The right wing back can be more attacking if you had Baleba and Anderson. Absolutely. Absolutely it can. The Forest owner isn't letting Anderson leave. Forget about it. And I'm not going to mess with him. I'm not going to mess with him. I think he's a great guy. Lovely fella. Please don't hurt me. Baleba would help, but arguably need him and Anderson. Yeah. I hope it is. De Ligt looks way better this season physically. He just looks more mobile as well, doesn't he? He just looks like he can turn. Like his conditioning just looks better. A bit more light on his feet, but also stronger in the battles. Better at jumping, better at heading. Just looks good. Just looks good. Alexander, happy birthday, my friend. Have a good one. I do worry there's a height issue with those three centre-backs, but I love them. Just an interesting question. Just an interesting question. Would you say the same thing? This isn't like, I'm not trying to be sarcastic here. It's a genuine question. Would you say the same if we were like in his back four, for example? Would you still be worried about the centre-back's height there? Or is it just like when you bring Martinez in, it is instantly like, oh, he's not great in the air? Which I get, by the way. I completely get that. Finally, AJ De Ligt praise. Hey, this season he's been quality. Like I said, maybe our best player apart from Mbeumo. Cunha would be up there as well, but he's missed a couple. But very good. Very impressed. The channel defending is what sent Martinez to 8 months plus injury, if you all remember. Yeah, that's the problem. The wide defence here isn't great. The wide defence isn't great. I think the pressing would be better. I think they would be, you know, when the opposition are sort of in their set possession phase and they've got their midfielders overloading us in the middle, I think these two would be really good at connecting and stopping us getting overloaded here. I think they'd be great in those moments. But let's say we are defending a transition, I'd be a bit more worried. More with Licha than De Ligt, to be honest. This is where there's a bit of a problem, because I wouldn't play Lisandro Martinez middle centre-back either, for reasons that we've discussed in the past. So if you can't play middle or left, where can you play? You know? What of Yoro? Yeah, great player. Someone else who's had a really good start to the season. Could we see Mazraoui on the left? I think we can. I think we can. I think we can do that. I think these three, like we've got Yoro and De Ligt who can play all three positions, and then you've got Mazraoui who can play the two wide ones. Like there's so much versatility with that back three. I do like him. Steve, correct. Yoro isn't good in the air yet. No, yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I don't think he's bad in the air. I don't think he's great in the air. You know, if I was the opposition and I was punting the ball long, I'd be looking in Yoro's area rather than De Ligt's. Pause. But you know what I mean? I'd be sending it long towards Yoro, sort of viewing him as that aerial weakness. Question, can Licha or Mazraoui invert from left centre-back to help the central midfielders? Do you mean on the ball or off the ball? My nose is so itchy, it's ridiculous. I think hay fever's kicking in. Yeah, do you mean on the ball or off the ball? Callum, stop quoting Pep, mate. Why do you love that quote so much? Could we see Ahmad on the left? Yeah, this is what I don't think you were here at the time, Manu, but I did say this earlier, because we were sort of experimenting with the idea of could you play two wingers at wing back? If United become really good, could you do that? You know, we kept asking, could Anthony play this position? Why don't we ask, can Ahmad? If you want to be like really aggressive with your wing backs, this was the conversation from earlier. Could you do something like that? Again, you're 1-0 down to Sunderland and need a goal. Possibly. On the ball and build-up, yeah. Alex, yeah, I think we could. I think it would be a more comfortable solution. I think Diallo could as well. I think Diallo could do something similar from the right side if he played there. Your thoughts on why Xerxes not playing so much? I think right now, Amorim is really putting a focus on making sure that we could match the Premier League intensity. There were so many matches last season where he would come out and be like, we just weren't intense enough. His first interview was full of him saying, Premier League intensity, Premier League intensity. Xerxes isn't someone who fits that. You know, we are playing an aggressive, fast, strong football at the moment. Xerxes doesn't suit that so much. I think he can. He almost just needs to kick up the backside at times. Just play a little bit faster, mate. Just move it along a little bit. I think he's actually got the profile to be good at it. I think he could be a player which holds the ball up quite nicely, particularly from one of the 10 positions. I think he's got the technical quality that we've demanded recently. I even think he's got the frame and the skill set to be a really good ball carrier as well. I just think he moves a bit too slowly at times. I think if you were to sit down with Amorim and have a conversation, he would probably sort of say similar things as to what he says about Cobby, of just lacking the intensity shifts at times, lacking that ability to speed it up how he wants. I would guess. Right, Manu, it's aggressive as hell, but if you need a goal, I'd argue you could do this in a game. You know, whatever way around you have your centre-backs at this point. I think if you needed a goal, this is why I always make the comment. There's games where we're 1-0 down and we're still stuck with 5 defenders on the pitch, particularly last season when we didn't have so many players. I don't want to see that this season. If we are 1-0 down to Sunderland in a couple of weeks, which hopefully we're not, but if we are, get some wingers on the pitch, get some attackers on the pitch and go at teams. You know, I think we do have a squad just about where we could do that if we wanted to. Mount is key to more aggressive defence, and his link-up play, his football brain is off the scale. He's just an intelligent player. I rate this guy so highly. I think he is a manager's dream because he can play so many different positions. Technically, you're always going to get the same thing. Off the ball, you're always going to get the same intensity. And he's clever. That's why he's a manager's dream. Probably never going to be a fan's dream because he's not going to score 20 goals a season. He's not going to rainbow flick it over everyone and then volley it in from outside the box. You know, he's not going to do that. But I think managers must adore working with him. A bit like McTominay, right? Similar vibe, but actually more technical than McTominay. When they are only 1 up, let's push it. Yeah, again, be aggressive. Get on the front foot. You know, attack teams. I think if you do that, though, we need a faster centre-back on the left. Yeah, obviously the conversation was partly about evolution, maybe next season. You know, could someone do that? Manu, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. I mentioned it the other day. I don't think you were here at the time. I've seen a couple of people on Twitter saying, is Dorgu's style on the ball, more than defensively, on the ball, actually more suited to a back three? Again, if you were looking for a goal, but you want to protect yourself in transition, would having someone like Dorgu help you there? Possibly. If they're aggressive versus Brentford, they could blow them away. Yeah, I really want to see that. I want to see a fast start again against Brentford because I think you can get at them at the moment. I haven't done my research yet on them and watched them properly, but I think you can get at that team. Hopefully, I think Cunha will be in the 11 this weekend. Obviously, we'll discuss that more on Friday, but I think we'll see Cunha in there. And I think on Friday, we're going to have a really interesting conversation about, you know, Mount, Cunha, Šeško, Ahmad. I think it'll be a good talk on Friday. It could work, to be fair, with Dorgu. The sort of logic that I've seen is that on the ball, he seems to prefer or seems more comfortable inside. If he receives the ball wide, he nearly always comes inside with his first touch. If he's in the middle third, his first touch nearly always comes inside because he doesn't want to take players on so much. Well, you'd get that from their centre-back. You know, he's not a great crosser, so don't put him into crossing positions. But you'd obviously get his left foot angle, access out wide. I think he can be quite a good passer. When he played for Lecce, there were games where he'd play a little bit deeper. And actually some of his forward long-range passing was quite good. Maybe there's something in it. Again, if we're talking about evolving, is that a different type of profile that we could use on the left? Because he's physically different to the other ones that we've got, right? Lisandro Martinez, sure, technically more gifted, but Dorgu, this stage of his career, athletically more gifted. Don't think Dorgu's smart enough to play there. Yeah, again, I would probably think of it in the context of we're 1-0 down, need a goal. Could you play him there and just sort of be like, just protect us on the break, mate? I think actually starting him here regularly would take a lot of work to get there. Like you said, the intelligence, back post defending, for example. Although he isn't bad at that, to be fair. He's got the size to play in this sort of position as well. Be interesting. Again, I wish we were in the Carabao Cup so we could try that. So we could experiment in those games. It's why I do actually like the idea of, it was mentioned a couple of weeks back about United maybe playing some friendlies, like midweek friendlies at some point. I'd be down for that, just as an opportunity to try different things if we could. Dorgu right wing back with Mbumo gives us width and crossing for Sesko. Dorgu over here. I think he could play here. I'm surprised we haven't seen him here more. Made his debut here and hasn't really played there since, I don't think, that I can recall. I actually think his crossing's better from here, though, because the angle is sort of that, like, curling in towards the back post. I think that actually suits his crossing style a little bit more than what the whip from the left does. I guess the problem you get is, again, you've got those two left footers. Do they just start clashing and coming into the same area, perhaps? One thing Shaw is at least consistent at is crossing outside the box, not at the byline. Yeah, I think he's a quality crosser. Shaw is a quality crosser. It's what I said about last week. I don't know if physically he can do it, but is there an argument of getting Shaw at wing back because he's our best crosser? Maybe. We're not in the FA Cup as well. We won't be in the FA Cup until, what, January? He's good at back post defending, but his quick thinking is bad in my opinion. But we have only seen that in attack. I really hope he improves on it. Yeah, I do think it's that almost like alertness at times, isn't it? Like the sharpness with certain actions. It would be interesting to see him play that role. Dorgu and Diallo as wrong foot wing backs is interesting too, especially if we can play them high and play infield quickly. Well, Liverpool kind of done this at the weekend, but not with the fullbacks, with the wrong-footed wingers. So what they did was they had, how do I do this in terms of footedness? So they had Salah going to be Mbumo on this occasion on the right, and they had Gakpo going to be Cunha on this occasion on the left. And what they were doing was, from like a deeper position over here, they were stuffing the ball into the winger, then the fullback would underlap, taking that player there. And the aim was that then the wrong-footed player would then sort of have that angle of cross into the box. And it actually worked really nicely for Liverpool. We saw it on one of the goals. I think it was Salah had the ball on the right. Bradley underlaps, makes that run in there, takes the players with him. So then Salah could come onto his left and then play that sort of, that arch of pass towards the back post. And actually that occasion went to Gravenberch, didn't it, near post. But you get that angle that we're talking about. Maybe something to consider. We've got Steve Brooks in the chat with the 5 gifted membership. Steve, thank you very much, my friend. That is very, very kind of you. Guys, you know what to do. Love hearts everywhere. Everywhere. For Steve. Thank you very much. Manu, what are your overall thoughts on Dorgu? Honestly, I still quite like the fella. I think people online are quite critical of him and don't like a lot of what he does. I still like him. How old is he? 20, 21, 19? So he's around that age. Still so young, not even been in the Premier League for 12 months yet. Does he have areas where he needs to improve? Yes. Like, the final third is bad. It needs to get a lot better. But I actually think the rest of the pitch, he brings some really useful tools. I think defensively, he's been probably better than what I was expecting, to be honest. I've been quite impressed with his defensive work. Physically, I was worried that he was going to go from playing in a weaker league, where he sort of just dominated teams easily, dominated players easily. I was worried that he would come to a more physical league and then struggle, but I don't think we've seen too much of that. Like, my main criticism would just be at the moment, he's not beating people 1v1 and swinging the ball into the box. He is a left back though. You know, like, that's not normally something that we would demand from a left back. So I don't think he's doing too badly at all, honestly. I've been quite impressed with him. Can Mbumo match Salah? I don't know if anyone can match Salah, right? But he's very similar in terms of play style. Very, very similar. Probably the closest thing to Salah currently in football. Probably the closest thing I've seen. And the quality isn't actually a million miles away. Like, he is a seriously good player. And as people have said, sort of Sesko then in the box there would be dangerous. The problem is, if we would be crossing that ball with fullbacks rather than like proper wingers, do we have the quality of fullback to do that? I'm not sure, but I don't know. Possibly. Possibly. How do I get rid of these drawings? There we go. By the way, look at the actual state of a tactics board we've got here. There's players everywhere. Players everywhere. Crossing is so poor, he needs to work on it. Oh, so he's 20. Yeah, exactly. Like, he's going to be fine, isn't he? Things we need to work on for sure. Like, lock him in a room with Luke Shaw and just get him pinging crosses. Just get him pinging crosses just constantly over and over and over again. Tusheshko, do that, please. I'm going to sneeze. Dorgu is a mad case. He's a left back, but also a right winger. We need to give him time and space to develop. Exactly. One thing I did say when we signed him was I always felt that we then needed another in the summer to... Why have we got Kobe Manu left centre-back? How have we ended up with that? What was I saying? One thing I said was when we signed him, we want another one in the summer who can start ahead of him. That was a comment I made so that Dorgu could sort of learn off of someone and not be expected to play every week at 20 years old and have the pressure of being United's first choice player. We didn't do that, which is a bit annoying. I wanted a wing back in the summer. We didn't get that, so now we are stuck with Dorgu. That means pressure on Dorgu. Hopefully he deals with it well. You know, it's sort of throwing him in at the deep end a little bit. Let's see if he swims. I think he'll be all right. I like Dorgu. Quite pleased with him. His size over Salah makes him potentially the new improved Salah. Salah evolved. If he's better than Salah, I will be quite happy. I will be quite happy. Can we use Ahmad as a left wing back? We might need to do a video on this. Because we keep coming back to it in this stream. That it's an option. Played on the left for Ivory Coast. Played the last 2 games on the left side. Has played right wing back, so he's somewhat trusted defensively. Could he play from left wing back? I might need to do some digging and have a look. Could Shaw do the left wing back thing, considering how stacked United are at left centre back? I think he could. Yeah, a whole wing back stream might be a good idea, to be fair. I think Shaw can play this role. As long as physically he can do it, technically I think he's good. The only thing he lacks, you know, we're talking about Dorgu lacks 1 versus 1 and crossing. Shaw's got the crossing, but lacks the 1 versus 1. But, Chad, shut up. Recently, we've been sort of playing the ball to Dorgu, and Dorgu hasn't been expected to beat a man. He's just been spare and then delivering. I think Shaw there would bring a lot of quality, a lot of value. I said it last week about just getting players in good areas. United are a team that cross a lot, so why not get our 2 best crossers, Mbeumo and Shaw, into crossing positions more regularly? Simple game, right? Simple game. Wait, I just thought Ahmad is horrible at crossing. Fair point. Would we be saying the same thing as what we're saying about Dorgu? Possibly. Although, would this side change his crossing? The type of crossing he's doing? Obviously, if you're crossing from this side, you're either going weak foot and playing that ball, or you're playing that sort of like bend in. Whereas from the left as a lefty, you're whipping it a bit more. Maybe he would be better at that type of cross. I don't know. Shaw would need the whole medical department on standby if he played left wing back. Yeah, that's fair. The issue is Dorgu should be second choice, not first. Yeah, he should have someone ahead of him, but unfortunately he doesn't. Steve, right, we had a conversation the other day about how many times I've threatened to ban you for these comments. And guess what? We're back again. Ahmad 10 and Mbeumo out wide could work better. I'm really interested to see what conversation we're going to be having about these two in 6 months. In the summer, we spoke about how it could work. So far this season, it's been about it not quite working. In March, in May, whatever, are we going to be going, wow, that really worked. Here's why Ahmad and Mbeumo cooked the league from the right-hand side. Or will it be like more of a failed experiment? Not sure. Oh no, AJ, I mean he's horrible from the left. Oh, I think he's horrible at crossing from the right is the problem. Maybe he's just horrible at both. Did you see his attempt on whipping it from the left last? Yeah, his decision-making also was terrible. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt as he hasn't played on the left side much. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think there's an interesting video there. Could Ahmad play there? And the other one that people want to see is, could Mazraoui go in here, right? That's the other one we've seen. A lot of, could Mazraoui go in there? We need to put players where they're best, and Ahmad's best is right wing back. Do we know that for certain? Sorry, I just saw that Villa had announced something, but it's nothing interesting. Thoughts on the DeMarco links? I want a winger option. I want a winger option from the left. I keep saying it, right? On the right, we can go Diallo or Ahmad. Like fullback or winger profile. On the left, it's fullback or fullback or fullback. Or a bit more of an attacking fullback. I would like more of an attacking winger. Although with DeMarco, I guess, I guess if the price was right, if you could do it cheap enough, it's good sort of like short-term experience ahead of Dorgu. So possibly in that sense. But in terms of long-term squad building, I want a more aggressive player there as an option. Just play Shaw till he breaks. I'd like to know, like, what's the most games Shaw has played consecutively in the last, like, 2 seasons? Now are we approaching a record? DeMarco's a winger, not going to lie, he's bad defensively. Yeah, but he always strikes me as like an overlapper still, rather than like a grab the ball, I'm going to beat you and dribble past you constantly. Maybe I'm wrong. Mazraoui from right centre-back into midfield, not in midfield. Well, I've seen both. Some people have said, can he go from here to in here? But I also had comments last week, you know, could Mazraoui actually just outright play there? You know, he played in the 10 for a match last season. Could he just go and play in there? Possibly. This is the most Shaw has played, is it actually, in the last 2 years? That's crazy. Two seems to have been the previous record. That's not great, is it, from the fella? But hey, what's he done now? Five league games? Five league games in a row. Well done, Shaw. I'm proud of you, mate. World Cup, yeah. Stay fit. Mbeumo is more effective than Ahmad in the box. Yeah, like, it's like Mbeumo is the better crosser from here than Ahmad, but he's also the better finisher from here. This where it's a little bit tricky. I like the idea of Mbeumo wide for increased creativity, for better quality of ball into the box, but I like him close to goal because he's probably our best goal scorer at the start of the season. Tricky. Afternoon, Stephanie. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Closing in on 100 live likes. We're getting there. A winger profile is probably a good idea, just in case Ruben gets hooked and we get a 4-3-3 manager who needs a left wing. Yeah, to be fair, that's a good point. I also think we probably need it for the current system as well, under Amorim. I think it's something that we need regardless, to be honest. I think United are built on wingers, right? Fast players, quick players, players that take people on. Don't really have that on the left right now. We've got Cunha, but I wouldn't call him a winger. He is more of that sort of inside player. I want one here. Can it be Ahmad? I might do a video on that. I don't know if it'd get views, but I don't really care because I think it's an interesting conversation to have regardless. What about Mount? He's way faster than I thought. Could he not do a shift on the left or right? As a wing-back, you mean? I mean, he can play every other position, can't he? He can play every other position. I think Mount could pretty much play any role to a decent level anywhere here. You know, the double pivot, the wing-backs, the 10s, the striker. He could probably play pretty much anywhere. I wouldn't see it as a long-term thing from wing-back, to be honest. I just think you'd miss his intensity in the middle. Like I said, this weekend is probably the first time we have a serious conversation about like the options we've got available to us. Because it's the first time I think we're going to have Sesko, Cunha, and Mbeumo, and Mount, and Bruno all available to us this weekend, and Ahmad. Like, at least one of them's got to go. One of them can't play. Who on earth do you drop? Because Sesko is our focal point, and Mbeumo's been our goal scorer so far. But we know the aggression on the ball that Cunha brings us. But you've got Mount's brilliant defensive work so far this season. It's going to be tricky. Just a sort of thought looking ahead to the weekend. And I might just leave you with this before we wrap up for today. Let me just quickly leave you with a thought. because we'll be back streaming on Friday, 11 a.m. once again, talking about how United can beat Brentford. And with all the attacking options we've got, and all the players that we've got in form right now, just wonder if we might be having this conversation on Friday. We'll see. We'll see. In terms of today, I think we're going to wrap the stream up there, because I've got a lot of work that I need to go do, because I need to sort out today's main channel video, but also the second channel as well. And I also need to work on tomorrow's video. Casemiro is suspended. Good point. So it'll be someone else. But yes, I've got a lot that I need to go do. No Life AJ is back, so videos are constant right now. Is that everything I want to talk about? I think it is. I was a little bit worried that today's stream might be like a 30-40 minute stream because we wouldn't have anything to talk about. 80 minutes later, it's the longest stream of the season so far, and United don't even have a match in 2 days, which is good. I think we've had a really good chat today about different things that United can do moving forward. And again, what I wanted to really highlight is the 3-4-3 doesn't have to be so fixed. It doesn't have to be so rigid. It doesn't have to be this massive problem. We can work from within that structure, that starting shape, and achieve some really cool, flexible, evolved ideas. That's sort of what I want to do today. And I think we've done that. The next stream will be on Friday, 11 a.m. British summertime. So you got a video coming out tonight on this channel and the second channel. Video tomorrow. Video Thursday. Stream and video Friday. Video Saturday. I'll be able to do a same game match one this weekend, which is good. Video Sunday. Basically, the rest of the month, there should be a video every single day, and hopefully into next month as well. That's the plan. That is the plan. You got multiple stream ideas, wingback stream, rebalancing the central midfield solutions stream. Yeah, that is the good thing about the lack of midweek games. We do have these Tuesday streams where we can explore different ideas rather than always preparing for the next match, which is quite good. I quite like that. So yeah, plenty of streams coming, plenty of videos coming. Second channels as well is on the way. But for today, this particular stream, there's nothing left that I want to talk about. So thank you guys very much for the support. Thank you for everyone waffling away in the chat. Also, thanks to everyone who just sits there quietly and watches. Thank you to anyone that liked, anyone that gifted memberships, renewed memberships, super chats, subscribed. If you subscribed with your notifications on as well. If you liked, which 88 of you have so far, could we get a few more before we leave? That would be amazing. Anyone that joined the Discord at the top of the chat, I will see you over there. But yeah, I think that's everything. So I will see you guys, if I can find the button. I can. I will see you guys for videos later and on